Hello, welcome to the Ghost of Harrenhal. My name's Simon.
And I'm Mackelly.
Thank you for joining us for episode 200 of our chapter-by-chapter book review of A Song of Ice and Fire by George Martin. Today, we'll be discussing chapter 56 of A Storm of Swords. That's Bran 4.
And as always, we're going to chat about the chapter and try not to spoil any future plot points for you. And hopefully, we're going to provide you some entertainment along the way.
We'll summarise what happened, discuss our thoughts on it, provide some useful background, compare it to the television show, indulge in a little pedantry, and cover some relevant news and listener correspondence. Be sure to check out the show notes. That'll provide some additional information about the characters and geography of this chapter. I always wing that line. It's always a little hazy when I'm going to come up with. How are you, sir?
I'm doing fine under the circumstances. In those circumstances, in case you are listening to this audio only, we are doing this live. 200th episode. We are live on our Discord community. We've got a bunch of friends listening and watching. Yeah. So I'm doing all right. How about you?
Yeah. I'm fine. I am quite nervous, you know, and I've talked before about never being nervous in front of a crowd,
right, yes.
But there is something. I think mostly it's the technological tightrope that the whole thing is on that's making me so nervous. Talking to you guys wouldn't make me nervous, but the capacity for things to go wrong here is quite large.
Yeah, that was your concern before we got started. Yes, we discovered some things just up to last night that we were like, uh-oh. This could be a problem.
I've been here half an hour and at least 12 things occurred to us. I mean, but this is the first time we've been together for ages. I haven't seen you for...
Yeah, I was thinking, I think the last time we recorded together like this was our 100th episode, the Arya one.
Get out.
Wasn't it? That we did a video of, but wasn't live.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's definitely possible.
So it's been 100 episodes since we've recorded together like this.
Yeah. So... the whole being more nervous than usual sort of reminds me of a story from when I first met Carson.
Yeah.
Which I may have already told on the podcast. You know me. I'm never going to remember these things. But she...
I'll stop you.
Yeah, she told...
Or let you go.
We'd been dating a couple of months and she said, hey, honey, I don't want to make you any more neurotic. That's the end of the story. There's nothing more to the story. I was like...
Too late.
Wait, what the heck? More neurotic? So the whole being more nervous.
Uh-huh.
Oh, you know, the other thing I've got to talk about is TV recommendation. And I checked in with your family before we started.
Yes, everyone but me has so.
The show Jury Duty.
Yes.
You would love that show.
I
absolutely guarantee it.
I've heard that I would love that show. Yeah,
I mean, because it's The Office meets The Truman Show. And honestly, the guy that they cast to be the patsy in the whole thing, I think what they did is, because it's the makers of The Office made the show.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, it's them. I think they went out and they said, find me the person on earth most like Jim from The Office.
Oh,
because the guy is just like Jim from The Office. I was talking to your manager today at work.
Yeah.
And he said, you know who that guy reminded me of? And I was
Jim
like...
Halpern.
He said, Mackelly Ray.
Oh, did he? Did he really?
And I was like, yeah, it could. Yeah, I mean, you are kind of like the guy. Anyone who's seen Jury Duty, Mackelly is kind of like that guy.
I've got to watch this to see whether I should be offended or not.
No, God, no. I mean, he's as nice as possible and relentlessly positive. You know, I've accused you of that before.
Yeah, true. Especially when it comes to recommendations on books and shows and movies.
Yeah, you know me as well. I mean, this show is really sweet. And you know I don't like sweet.
True.
I complain about it bitterly, but I binged this like I've never binged a show before.
Wow.
Just because I wanted to get to the payoff. I mean, you know the basic premise of it. I wanted to get to the payoff so badly. And then the payoff, I just wish they'd made that longer and longer because I could have just watched it for hours. It was so funny.
Well, I remember when the whole rest of my family watched it while I was with my mom in Pennsylvania, and they just kept telling me, you got to watch this when you get back. So
you'll definitely enjoy it, for sure.
I will try to remember.
Partly because you're in it.
I'm not getting any paychecks from it, that's for sure. So, speaking of work, how was the half year party? I didn't go. I didn't attend, but you did. You attended the half year celebration.
So there was a celebration at work today of sort of like the first half of the year, and it was really nice. They had like beer and live music. Some of our friends were doing the live music.
Oh,
Ellie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And good food. It was really nice. And then they had cake, and they had like cut pieces of cake, and then they had this great big sheet cake that said congratulations on the first half of the year, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I stayed right till the end of this thing. So at about 5 minutes from the end, me and a friend of ours went up to this sheet cake, which was still pristine. And we got plates and forks, and we took the corners.
A little risky. Okay.
And we sat down, and as we sat down, the staff arrived with like a big knife.
Oh, no.
And senior management.
They were like, wait a second, something's wrong.
I was there like, hum, hum, hum.
Did anyone see you guys?
Oh yeah, there were witnesses to it. There were two ladies watching me, and I said, if anybody comes, and I was not here, you know. Oh, it was cracking me
I
up.
wish I would have gone now, just for that alone. Although you would have probably talked me into getting a slice too.
I would have sat at the table and got you to get me a slice, because really, I need you in the firing line. Not me. The other funny story was I saw a lady that I used to work with, and this will come as a shock to everyone. I couldn't remember her name.
What?
Yeah, I know. And I was sitting with people who'd also worked with her. I was like, what's that lady's name? And they were all a bit... And they finally came up with it. It's Kelly. I was like, yeah, that's right, it's Kelly. And just at that moment, Kelly comes over and says, hey, Simon, how you doing? I'm like, Kelly, it's great to see you.
Oh, yeah. Buddy, old pal.
And the whole time I talked to her, I was avoiding eye contact with the people who just fed me that name.
Just in the nick of time.
Yeah, I tell you, it was.
Because you would have been like, hey, you. Hey, good to see you.
You. Well, look at your badge.
Is that a new badge picture? No? Oh, well, okay, Kelly. It was so good to see you.
All right. Have we done enough of this?
Yeah. Usually I have all this stuff up on the screen. I don't even know where my cursor is. Oh, it's over there.
Yeah.
Let's see. How long have we been going on for? Yeah, we're in a good spot.
That's a good spot.
Yes.
That's enough banter. So let's get down to business. How did we leave Bran Stark? The last we saw of Bran, he, the Reeds, Hodor and Summer were sheltering from a storm in Queen's Crown in the Gift. The only thing noisier than the storm was Hodor's fear of the storm, and he was in danger of revealing their location to a band of wildlings that we know contained Jon Snow. Bran walked into Hodor to quiet him. A line was crossed. He then walked into Summer, who was out amongst the wildlings. When things went south for Jon, Summer interceded, facilitating Jon's escape. Mackelly, why don't we give the summary of this one?
Okay. One take, right?
One take.
Yes, that surely will happen. Okay, well, so Bran and company have reached the wall. They've arrived at the huge former Night's Watch headquarters, the Nightfort. But Jojen's dream only led them there. It didn't provide instructions for getting past the 700-high-foot wall. The Nightfort is...
Wait. Can we just stop there? It's not a 700 high foot
wall. Did I say
wall.
high foot wall?
You did say a high foot wall.
You know what I meant.
I know what you meant.
Foot high
Future
wall.
listeners may be confused.
The Nightfort is the stuff of legends, and pretty much all the legends are the kind of deeply scary and troubling tales that Old Nan would retell to Bran at bedtime.
Yes, yeah.
Which I'm starting to see why you're considered man-grown at 4 on Winterfell.
Bran's mood is not helped by a dream that he is keeping to himself, in which Summer saw Robb and Grey Wind dead. He tries to keep that out of his mind. They explore the castle carefully, but all is abandoned and deserted, and home only to rats. Meera decides that she'll climb the wall and take a reconnaissance. They watch, in Bran's case wistfully, as she climbs the ice steps cut into the face of the wall. Clearly, nobody but her can go this way.
Bran checked the veracity of Nan's Nightfort stories with Uncle Benjen once, but he only said that the Night's Watch abandoned the castle 200 years ago. Not exactly a categorical refutation. Bran had warned everyone that the gate through the wall would be blocked, the portcullises closed, and the chains used to lift it removed completely, the tunnel filled with rock and ice, making it as impenetrable as the wall itself. But, as we all know, Jojen's gonna Jojen.
Bran saw Jon through Summer's eyes and thinks that they should have followed him to Castle Black. Jojen is a bit sceptical that it was Jon and reminds Bran that they almost lost Summer. He was struck in the leg with an arrow while Bran was warging. That abruptly ended the warging, and Bran couldn't find a way back to Summer for the rest of the night. Bran prayed hard to the old gods for Summer's well-being. They stayed at Queen's Crown for another day to put some distance between themselves and the wildlings who'd set off north in the morning. Summer made it back that day, and Meera patched up the leg, which is now almost completely healed.
Bran recalls that the Nightfort had been the first castle along the wall, but had been costly to maintain. Good Queen Alysanne had suggested a new location about 7 miles east, where a lake came close to the wall, and the Night's Watch built a smaller castle there at Deep Lake, to which they transferred about 200 years ago. Meera returns from her death-defying climb to the top of the wall, but all she knows is that there's a really nice view from the top and absolutely no hope of them clearing the wall. They spend the night in the kitchen. The domed building is pierced by a weirwood tree that has grown up through it.
Hodor drops a piece of slate into the well in the centre of the room. It takes a long time to make a splash. Bran is seriously disquieted. They make a fire and settle in for the night. Bran awakens to noises from the well. Something is climbing out of it. He wakes Meera, who arms herself, and Bran wargs into Hodor and rises up to his full height, relishing the standing and walking. Meera nets the huge black creature as it surfaces from the well and prods it to the ground with her trident. The creature speaks. "No, please don't. I'm Sam." He's followed into the room by Gilly and the baby, whose wailing had been the sound effect to chill the hearts of those in the kitchen.
Jojen builds up the fire, and the nightmare recedes as the truth is revealed. Sam is hurt about being poked, but he's not exactly injured. He says that he's a crow, which makes Bran question whether he's the three-eyed crow. Sam's confused, but he doesn't think that he is. Introductions are made, and a slightly confused conversation reveals that Sam and Gilly have been sent by Coldhands to bring someone to him. Coldhands can't pass through the wall, but Sam and Gilly did through a secret gate in the well. Now things are starting to look up.
The gate only opens for a sworn brother of the Night's Watch, but Sam can take them to it. They question him about Coldhands, who Bran thinks sounds like a green man, but Sam explains that Coldhand wears blacks, but is very pale like a white, with cold hands. Jojen proclaims that Bran is the one that Sam was sent to bring through the wall. Sam, realizing that Bran is crippled, explains that he isn't strong enough to carry Bran, but Bran points to Hodor.
Mm-hmm. Things begin to click for Sam, who realizes who Bran is and talks about Jon and how he was Sam's best friend, but was lost in the Frostfangs. Bran informs Sam that he just saw Jon on the other side of the wall with a wildling band. Summer sniffs and licks Sam, and Bran is convinced that he can be trusted.
Bran begs Sam not to tell anyone that Bran is alive. Sam says that he and Gilly can keep a secret. They leave Gilly in the kitchen, and Sam leads them down into the darkness of the well. After a long descent, Sam stops at a weirwood door with a face in it. The face asks them who they are. Sam recites the Night's Watch vow, and the mouth opens wide enough for them to pass through.
We'll be right back.
Hello, friends. Are you ready to make some unforgettable memories? Well, if so, consider the Marriott Bonvoy program. Discover the perfect destination for your summer getaway and unlock exclusive deals on luxurious accommodations. With our affiliate partnership, you'll enjoy unbeatable savings and a seamless booking experience. Don't let summer slip away. Visit Marriott Bonvoy today and make this vacation season one for the books. Use our Ghosts of Harrenhal affiliate page to check it all out and buy Bonvoy points or give some as a gift. The link to our page is in the show notes. Okay. So, so Bran dreamed of the Red Wedding, but not through his own dreams, but through Summer's dream.
Yeah.
And there was, he, as you mentioned in the summary, his dream was of Grey Wind and Robb dying. There's no mention of Cat, which you'd think if he had known that his mom had died in the dream as well, that would also be weighing on his mind.
Yeah.
Worth mentioning over the direwolf.
Yeah, so it's like the direwolves have a stronger filial connection than the humans do.
Okay.
But the local direwolf and its chosen child have a strong enough connection that he could see, through Summer's eyes, could see Grey Wind, and Grey Wind could see Robb.
Right.
And
Yes.
so
There's a
putting all
little-
that together, but no, like you said, no mention of Cat because she's not part of the posse. She's not.
Yes.
Posse is the wrong
Exactly.
word there. The pack. I think is the word I'm
Right.
looking for.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. There's no connection that leads to her, I guess,
Right,
unless Robb. Well, Robb died before Cat did, so Robb didn't even know that
Right.
Cat died.
That's true.
So
That's true.
it would have ended with Robb regardless.
Yeah, but of course that also means that Greywind didn't witness Robb dying, but he has
Sensed.
the bond. So
Yes.
he would have. He would
Right.
have known. Yeah.
Yes, because they were hearing him howl after Robb had died.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
I'll just mention that to me this is told in backstory for this chapter, but the horror of Summer getting hit by the arrow in that fight must have been really bad for Bran
Oh,
because if I were to witness I love my pets, but his bond to Summer is way stronger than my bond to my pets. It's,
Right.
on a different
Right.
level.
Yeah.
And to witness a pet getting injured would be horrifying. To be inside the pet's mind when that thing happened would be yet more horrifying. And for it to be a pet that you're this strongly bonded to.
His skin you can slip in and
Exactly.
out of.
It's-
Right.
Yeah, it gives me the heebie-jeebies just to think about that. I gotta say.
Yeah, that would have been incredibly tough. It's hard enough to imagine your own pet getting struck by an arrow. let alone,
Exactly.
especially when you were in the pet at the time and you can't get back in because of the pain.
Right.
He couldn't get back into Summer's skin, Summer's mind, because the pain was too extreme. It was he equated it to touching a hot stove or something like that. You jerk your hand back even though you don't want to. So yes, that would have been very challenging.
I got to spend some time with Mackelly's Penny before we started.
Oh, that's right. Yes, she was squealing. She was so excited to see you.
It was mutual, entirely mutual.
Yeah, in like the past 3 weeks, 2 of my good friends have lost their dogs, and I don't mean like lost them in the way like putting up posters around the neighborhood, but
I understood what you
the dogs lost their life, and both were so in such tragic manner. One got up onto the kitchen island somehow where there was children's medication, and because it was children's and chewable, it ate the whole package, and they couldn't pump her stomach because it was chewable, so it was immediately dissolving instead of pill form.
That's awful.
Yeah, that was, oh gosh, that was rough. And then another friend of ours, 6-year-old dog just riddled with cancer. So anyway, didn't mean to bring this down.
This is the kind of stuff we would edit out.
Right.
I mean, to be clear.
It's just on my mind because we were talking about losing a
That's
pet
awful.
or pet getting injured. Anyway.
So Bran thinks he's the Prince of the North, but of course, in reality, he's king. But that Robb, we say that, but then Robb did make the succession plan,
Yes.
and he made the succession plan assuming that Bran was dead.
This is where it gets murky now.
Very murky,
Yes.
yes. I mean, if he made the succession plan to say, well, Bran's king, but let's just legitimize Jon just in case,
John is back.
then
though.
Bran
Right.
is still king. But he thought Bran was dead, so he bequeathed it, probably, it seems, to Jon. So we could have a succession battle similar to what we're going to have in the Iron Islands, perhaps.
Possibly.
Although Bran and Jon are nicer people than your typical
Yes,
Greyjoys,
yes.
I feel.
In some ways, it's kind of like the beginnings of the Dance of the Dragons, season 1 of House of the Dragon, except for that, Rhaenyra was the one that King Jaehaerys wanted to be queen, wanted to succeed him. But when he died, Aegon assumed the throne, and difference is that Jon is natural born, whereas
Right, but
Aegon was.
if his king legitimized him, he isn't anymore.
True, that is true. Yes, you become Jon Stark. Yeah,
But it does feel like even if Jon were to get wind of this, and it's possible that Jon might never know this, that he'd relinquish rule to Bran. If he knew that Bran was alive, he would give up his place to Bran.
I would think so, but as I say that, power can change people.
Yep, that is true.
And
that is true.
We know Jon. We've known Jon since the beginning of this story. I'd like to think that wouldn't happen, but
honestly, if it was his ticket out of here,
that's what I'm like.
Look, Bran, you deserve this, but I'm taking it because
at least let me have it for a few years till people forget.
Yeah. So what was interesting about this is last time, the last Bran chapter, or was it a Jon chapter? Which chapter was it when the wildlings?
It was
a Jon chapter.
It was the Jon chapter, yes.
That Summer attacked. We weren't sure that Bran would have seen Jon, but he did.
Yes.
Bran is absolutely convinced. Of course, nobody else looked through Summer's eyes, so everybody else is like, could have been a guy who looked a bit like Jon, But Bran's adamant that it is Jon.
Yes.
So that's going to be a huge relief to Sam, of course. I mean, this is a conjunction of POV characters,
right?
So we're probably going to get Sam's reaction to this fairly soon. Like,
yes,
he thought Jon was lost, and now to know he's this side of the wall is, of course, what he doesn't know about is what's going on at Castle Black, which might have refinished off Jon.
Neither of them knew that,
right.
But it could have. We know that it didn't, but thankfully it didn't. But yeah, and Sam. So when he realizes who Bran is, he says, "You're Jon's younger brother, the one that fell." And Bran says, "Please don't tell anybody this." And
right.
Sam says, "Gilly and I can keep a secret, but surely not from Jon."
Well, right? That's what I was going to ask. You'd think you'd talk through the details of that particular promise.
Who's on the know list and who's on the don't know list?
Gilly knows.
Right.
I can talk to her about it freely, right? But yeah, I mean, it feels to me like you should definitely have made it clear whether or not you included or excluded Jon from that list. Because I would say, go reassure my brother.
Yes. And you would think...
But tell him to keep it a secret.
And you'd think, yes, tell him to keep it a secret. And if you tell him to keep it a secret, you would think that he would honor that.
Absolutely.
And the reason for them not wanting to get this out is so that people stop looking for the last remaining Stark because they think he's dead. Jon's not going to spill those beans if he knows that's the consequence, So,
unless, maybe a Bolton comes to Castle Black and says, "Well, that's it. We've searched the whole of the north. He must be dead." Well, let me tell you something.
You didn't search far enough north, did ya? But, if he did know, I just wonder... Okay, so Sam goes to Castle Black, tells Jon. Jon knows this information that Sam just saw Bran. Bran is alive, and indeed alive. And then this word gets out that Jon is Robb's heir.
Right.
Then Jon would be able to say, and at least have that knowledge to be able to react with that.
Right.
No, my brother is actually alive.
Right, because if this is kept secret from Jon, he might react to the news that he's been legitimized and named King of the North,
right,
with the natural reaction of, "I'm out of here, I'm King of the North," leading to friction with Bran when Bran shows back up. Whereas,
if he knows,
foreknowledge, he might, yes,
yes,
good point.
That's my point.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see how it plays out, but it just seems like it wouldn't be something he would keep from Jon. I can't think of a good reason why because Jon is very upset that his brothers have died.
Yes.
And now he knows the older one, Robb, has died as well. So it would be very nice for him to learn, oh, guess what? And Bran might have also said, oh, by the way, tell him Rickon's not dead either.
That's true. Yes. That didn't come up either, did it?
Jon would have gone, who?
What are the chances of that happening? So Bran, I think we talked about this in the Jon chapter, perhaps, that Bran did want to follow Jon once he'd seen him. That he wasn't just sort of like, "Oh, that was Jon."
Yeah, right.
He did actually want to have, try and track him down. But
he figured he would.
It did make sense that it was going to be difficult because Jon fled north. The wildlings stayed put. There's no way past them from the tower. So you had to wait for them to leave, and then they went north too. So how are you going to catch up?
Right.
And with Summer's injury, it just was not ever going to work.
And it certainly would have been bad if they had showed up the day of the Battle of Castle Black. That would be a bad day for house guests.
Yeah, although tracking that gang of wildlings would not have been difficult.
True. Although,
pillage, burning.
I wonder if they would have had scouts in both directions, if they might have seen, they probably wouldn't have bothered.
Yeah. Who'd be scared, yeah.
Well, one thing I thought that was pretty fascinating, and honestly, if we already knew this, I'd forgotten, so maybe you're rubbing off on me, but the idea that the Night's King was a Stark.
Yeah. If we knew that, it was completely gone for me. It was very exciting to discover that.
We did do a background on it, but I can't remember whether we learned that info or not.
That's the kind of thing where you would say, there is more.
Oh.
But it's a spoiler.
Or maybe I did do that. Let's hope I did that. We'll say I did. But yeah, and then, to just even add to that, he was the brother of the king, the Stark in Winterfell, who rode to end his terrible reign. Mm-hmm. So, and it's just, so often we hear about the Stark in Winterfell having to ride north to rescue the realm, and here there was a Stark that was actually almost certainly the worst Lord Commander of all time at the Night's Watch. So,
yep, absolutely.
And then, can I just add that Old Nan? I mean, come on, use some just some general common sense. I don't know what the right word is here, but I mean, there is a line. So these stories that Bran is thinking about are just terrible.
Yeah.
And there's a line where that he's repeating this story that Old Nan told about Mad Axe, where it goes, drops of blood fell from his axe, his elbow, and the end of his wet red beard. And I was like, oh, Nan, come on.
You see, now what happened was she was telling all of the rat cook, the Mad Axe, all of these stories. And eventually Bran said, can you just please tell a story about a Stark of olden days? And she was like, let me tell you about the Night's King.
And that Rickon was in the room. She was not using that kind of filter. There was like 2-year-old Rickon running around the room. And she's just going on about business. Yeah. Old Nan. She's a character.
Yeah. So Bran walks into Hodor again. We talked about this before. That, I mean, it's obviously, it's a coercion of another human being, which is a little bit icky. Mm-hmm. Is Hodor special because of his mental capacity that he can be coerced this way, or is it that they have a special bond because
they know each other
in Winterfell?
Right.
We're not sure why it can happen. It'll be interesting to see if Bran tries this on anybody else. In particular, people who've got it infinite.
Yeah.
He's tried it on his friends. Could he try it on his enemies?
Now, we saw even in this chapter that it wasn't easy, even with Hodor.
Right.
Hodor was fighting to keep him out. He said it was like putting on a right boot on your left foot. It just didn't fit right. And so, I would imagine it would be even harder with someone that he didn't have this tight a bond with or was mentally stronger. It would be harder for him to infiltrate his mind.
That presupposes that you are consciously aware of it, of course.
Well,
Hodor is obviously aware of it, but are you consciously aware of it in the sense that you could defend yourself against it?
True. Yeah. I was wondering if Bran is in Hodor, if Hodor could speak words beyond
something
Hodor.
Like, look at me!
Right.
Yeah.
Whoa! Yeah. Or if whatever Bran is thinking and trying to speak comes out as Hodor.
Interesting.
Hodor.
Yeah. So. Actually, be interesting if Bran could understand what Hodor was thinking and say, when he says Hodor,
when he uses this inflection,
he means I'm really hungry.
Yeah, that would be.
Yeah.
That would be interesting. Yeah. So we got very quickly, very briefly introduced to Coldhands at the end of the last Sam chapter.
Yes.
And so now we discover that Coldhands seems to have been sent to find Bran and company. And it seems like someone, presumably, possibly the Three-Eyed Crow, is orchestrating things. And Coldhands is reporting to this said being here.
I want to know what that comment was.
Oh, okay. Let's see. Let's take a look. Shall we?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Rob's comment was...
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll be right back.
This episode is sponsored by Audible. To get a free audiobook, or 2 if you're an Amazon Prime member, go to our exclusive URL, audibletrial.com/ghostsharrenhal. You can find the link in our show notes. That's probably what the White Walkers do.
Oh yeah, because it's the Simon Silvertongue's comment. Yeah, if we could control whites,
right?
That's what the White Walkers are doing. They're corpses,
and Bran is very new to this.
Yes.
He doesn't know what he's doing. He's just kind of feeling his way through it. So maybe if he were more experienced, he would be able to control 50 beings at once or something.
And perhaps penetrate into someone's mind without them knowing. Hodor clearly feels it and recognizes it. He might be able to do it smoother with some sensitivity. Exactly. Yeah.
Yes. Anyway, yeah. So it just seems like there's a third party who possibly is a three-eyed crow is organizing this meetup here at the Nightfort.
Do you think the three-eyed crow is a crow? Is it a person? Is it a concept?
Right. Yes. I don't know. Well,
we
don't know at this point what the three-eyed crow is, or if we'll ever meet said crow.
Yeah. So is the crow sending Jojen the green dreams? Because the thing is, Jojen's dream to come to this castle seemed like a stupid dead end.
Yes, it did.
But then Coldhands sent Sam and Gilly that way serendipitously.
Yes.
So maybe the three-eyed crow is controlling things from both ends a little bit.
Either that, or the crow is tapping into whatever he could tap into the green dream.
Right, the same
Jojen.
Right, yeah,
maybe they had the same green dream.
Yeah.
Whatever the pipeline is that these green dreams are coming from, they can both tap into it or something. But I was wondering what would have happened if Coldhands hadn't come across Sam and Gilly, because he can't get through the gate. The kids can't get through the gate. So,
well, he said he couldn't. This was probably like a job he didn't want to do.
Didn't feel like going.
Sam, why don't you go through there? All you need is the Night's Watch vows. He's like, I'm not learning that. On you go. No, but I mean, maybe he was just touring the near side of, the near north of the wall to find a brother of the Night's Watch. Just give me one. That's all I need.
So maybe it was not necessarily a random act of kindness, him helping Sam and Gilly at that wildling village, but he'd been tracking them because he needed their help, and they were the closest brothers.
That's what I'm thinking. Although, depending on who Coldhands is, maybe he was looking out for someone, looking out for specific people, namely friends of the Starks.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, could be, because if the three-eyed crow is instructing him, he might be giving him, you need to find people that are connected to the Starks, such as that Sam Tarly guy over there.
Exactly. Yeah.
Track him.
That's what I was thinking.
Yes.
So, Coldhands is talking about magic that we've come across before, which was at Storm's End. There was magic in the walls of Storm's End that prevented Melisandre from crossing the walls, although she did.
She couldn't use her shadow assassin
through the wall. Yes. She had to cross the wall physically in order to unleash it.
That's why Davos rode her underneath the wall.
Okay, so the same ancient spells, and Bran the Builder is thought to be responsible for both the wall and Storm's End.
Yes,
that is a body of work.
I think there's more as well, but more that he's done as well. I don't want to say off the top of my head in case I'm wrong, but I believe there are other structures as well.
Whether there are or not, just those two, that's impressive.
Yes, it is.
Either one of those would be incredibly impressive.
He's done both.
Building a cathedral took hundreds of years.
Right.
He built
a huge wall and a impenetrable castle.
Yeah, so the magic is supposed to be spells woven into the walls that keeps out evil. Right.
Keeps out,
something.
Things that they don't want in.
Now, Coldhands, of course, why would you have Coldhands? You might have Coldhands because you're dead. And you have
definitely one
been
option.
Brought back to life. And that's the kind of thing you might want the wall to stop.
Yes.
The Walking Dead, yes.
Yeah, so these kids and Sam and Gilly are just blindly accepting that they're going to throw these kids over to the other side of the wall with this being who can't come across the wall, that has spells to protect from things that we don't want on the south side of the wall getting there.
But they got affirmation of that from Jojen.
Well, I guess you mean affirmation that...
That's who Coldhands was looking for.
Oh, well,
You
yeah.
see what I mean?
Yeah.
That would make me feel a bit better if the
Jojen
creepy kid said, that guy, I haven't met him yet, but I'm pretty sure he's after this kid.
He's legit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just felt a little bit trusting to me that...
Well, but plus what Gilly and Sam have been through, you'd pretty much trust anyone at that point.
They did, unless he set it up. Coldhands set up the whites and then defended them against the whites to earn their trust.
Wow.
And now he's going to get the kids because they trust him. Oh my gosh, this could be bad.
What have you done?
I don't know. I don't know what I've done. Confused everybody, I think.
You rode under my defenses. You're inside the walls. Yeah.
So Sam and Gilly cross through the Black Gate, and that's how the kids and Hodor cross back.
Is that
out.
what this is called? The Black Gate?
Yes, the gate that has the white weirwood door. It's called the Black Gate.
Okay.
And about 199 episodes ago, we were talking.
Test me.
We were talking about. You had mentioned we were talking about Garrett.
Yeah,
that's the chapter. Bran 1, the first actual chapter, where Garrett got beheaded, and you were saying, well, he would have had to have come through one of the castles to get south of the wall.
Right.
After seeing Will and Sir Waymar get killed by the whites. And he freaked out. And you were like, but he had to have stopped at one of the castles. And I said there was one secret way. So 199 episodes later, we finally have the payoff for that.
There you go.
That setup that was almost 4 years ago.
I remember it well.
Oh, I'm sure you do. There's just one final thing I wanted to say is that Bran has this moment of cold feet right before they go.
But he wouldn't feel them.
He wouldn't, no, yeah.
He'd match well with Coldhands. They can get together.
When they're leaving Gilly, she's staying by the fire in the Nightfort.
Yeah.
The rest are going to go.
Yeah.
Sam's going to shepherd them through the Black Gate, and then she says, come back for me. And he's like, I will, and then we'll go somewhere warm. And right before they start down the stairs of the well, Bran thinks, what am I doing? Am I ever going to be somewhere warm again? You know, and it was just like, it was such the perfect moment of the classic hero's journey where, you know, the hero, before crossing through the threshold into no going back territory, has a moment of, oh, this is really dangerous. Maybe I shouldn't be doing this.
So sliding doors moment, he goes with Sam and Gilly to Castle Black. Castle Black survives the attack by the wildlings. He's inducted into the Night's Watch. He becomes the new maester of the Night's Watch.
Maybe he gets sent to the Citadel.
Huh.
Yeah. Maybe he becomes king of the North because he's alive. And
versus going through the wall to meet with the guy with cold hands,
well,
which is pretty much a death sentence.
I mean,
is that what you're saying?
Once they cross up through that wall, this is a whole new world. Up to this point, it's everything they've known. It's everything south of the wall. It's the North. It's where they're from. It's what they know. When they cross through that threshold of that gate and get to the northern side, it's the next phase of the hero's journey is the belly of the whale. They're in the belly of the whale, you know? Yeah. So anyway, I just thought that moment, it was just a quick thing. It was like one sentence. He thought, what am I doing? Should I be doing this?
So try and walk a mile in my shoes here for a second and imagine you have no idea where Bran's story is going.
Okay.
How would you write this from here? So he's going north. Let's assume that Coldhands is a good guy, taking him to the Three-Eyed Crow.
Uh-huh.
What do you do with the story? Where do you take it? Because I don't want Bran to be lost to the north of the wall.
Right.
The story takes place south of the wall.
Yes. Right. Yeah, well, I mean, he's going... His plan going north of the wall is he wants to learn how to control his powers in hopes of possibly regenerating the use of his legs.
I see. I see.
That's kind of what he's hoping for, anyway.
Yeah, okay. But that could work. So like a little Harry Potter interlude while he learns the wizarding ways. And then he comes back.
Regains his, hopefully, regains his legs, use of his legs. That's what he's hoping to do.
By the way, I'm reading a book called Babel, by a lady called R.F. Kuang, Kuang.
All right.
Good. If you like your Harry Potter type things.
Okay.
Really, I'm only halfway through it. I'm not sure if it's going to hold up, but
well, I usually do take your book recommendations.
I usually don't take yours.
I know that. That is for sure. Should we check the chat? See if there's anything. See, looks like everyone's having a good chat.
What is the Bran the Builder's iceberg theory? Is that he is just the tip of an iceberg of builders? That he wasn't just one person who did all this in a lifetime. He was. Yeah. Okay.
Oh yes. Okay. Sure. Yes, I get that. No. it will be shockingly disappointing.
You'd still beat me. So and it wasn't the entire Night's Watch vows that would have to be said to the Weirwood tree. It's just a piece of them.
Oh yes, right. Yeah, I guess that's a good point.
Rob, how can I? So easy. It's much easier to forget than to remember, let me tell you. All right. Nice. So, do you have some background for us, Mackelly? This, Rob, is where I crack open my beer.
I do have some background. But so much of the lore Bran gives us begins and ends with what he tells us here in this chapter. So, Mad Axe killing his brothers in the night.
Oh, yeah, by the way, of all the chapters we've had in this book, this is the richest seam of background.
You would have thought.
There were like 112 stories in this thing.
But yes.
You've told them all already.
Well, so Mad Axe, killing his brothers in the night there's nothing more to say about it. It was just this. King Sherritt calling down a curse on the Andals. I was like, oh, this could be interesting.
Go on.
Nothing more to say about it. Simeon Star Eyes seeing the Hellhounds fight. I thought, oh, possible. Nope, that was it.
Okay.
The 79 Sentinels being buried alive. That's all there is to say.
Well, they were on top of the wall.
Yes.
Frozen in.
They were.
You know who could use those? Castle Black.
Go borrow those. All these stories were basically provided here to give this.
But that's it. They're not expanded on anywhere in the canon.
Yeah.
No. They want to make some stuff up.
Well, I might end up having to here. They were pretty much just here to give this old, creepy, dark castle the type of vibe that Bran was feeling. Just so we knew what Bran was feeling here. But he did tell the story of the rat cook, which we've already talked about. It's basically a parable about the dangers of violating guest
rights, which is why it comes up at this point in the whole story, of course.
Right. Yes, and we'll have to see if the Freys are affected by this breaking of guest right. It seems to be. Everybody thinks that it's a really bad sign that they did that. We'll have to see if it comes true or not. Mm-hmm. But and also we've already done a deep dive into the Night's King. And we talked a little bit about it in this conversation here. So I had thought about giving everyone background on House Risewell, which does get a mention. That was with the 79 Sentinels, but they'll come up again in a more prevalent way later in the story. So I'm gonna save them till then. So I'm just going to give you what little bit extra there is on poor Dany Flint.
I don't even remember Dany Flint getting mentioned in this chapter.
Well, Bran tells us that brave young Dany Flint was raped and murdered at the Nightfort.
Do expound.
What he didn't tell us is that Dany was actually a girl from House Flint. Much like Arya, the Night's Watch recruit, who was indeed Arya, Dany disguised herself as a boy in order to join the Night's Watch. Her secret must have been discovered while living at the Nightfort because we know of her horrible ending.
Yeah.
But there is a sad but beautiful song sung about Dany called Brave Dany Flint.
Well, I mean, we all want to be remembered in song.
Yeah. Just wish it was for better, less terrible reasons.
All right, comparison with the television show. So one scene had happened in between the last Bran chapters, which is that Osha and Rickon had left. They were going to the home of House Umber, which is
Last Hearth.
Last Hearth, yes. So that brings the book and the show back into alignment because obviously Osha and Rickon were already gone in the book.
Yeah.
Sorry, It is Osha, yes, it's Osha.
Mhm.
I always forget which one of those
Osha
had
and
them.
Asha.
Yeah, exactly.
You got it right.
Yeah. So this chapter is split over 2 scenes. In the first, they're in the Nightfort, and Bran tells his companion the story of the rat cook to riff on the fact that you mustn't violate guest rights.
Uh-huh.
He did have the great line, which is also in the book, about the crime not being the killing the child, baking him into a pie and serving him to his father, but the violation of guest rights.
Yes.
Which then segues into a scene where Walder Frey and Roose Bolton are enjoying their victory while the blood is being mopped up in the Great Hall.
Oh, yes, okay.
We come back to Bran as he gets woken up by the noise coming up from the well. Yeah, and then the scene unfolds very much the same as in the book. Summer was not injured and is actually present in the room, and he immediately goes over. He's immediately seen by Sam, so Sam immediately knows who Bran is.
Oh,
You can't really have a dire wolf and be always sitting down and not be obviously Bran Stark. You know?
Right.
There is no Coldhands. He doesn't exist, or hasn't to this point in the show. Sam offers to take them through the wall because they want it.
Not because there's someone on the other side waiting
for them. Exactly.
Right.
Jojen says, this is the sort of the thing that convinces Sam, that the Night's Watch cannot stop what's coming. Only he, Bran Stark,
right,
can. So that's how the scene is.
Okay.
Otherwise, pretty similar.
Yeah, good stuff.
Let's pause for chat before we get to pedantry. You imagine the two would look the opposite of each other. Me and him,
or Brandon.
Bran and Coldhands.
Bran and Hodor.
There's no such thing as too much smack talk about Simon. Knock yourselves out.
Did we miss all the smack talk about Simon?
Water under the bridge.
You know, that's not the first time that people have said that someone has said that they imagined us the other way around. I thought in our first episode we a little bit described each other. Maybe not. Maybe they figured you were bald.
Yeah, I mean, I have very little going for me, but I do have a full head of hair.
Sam and Mackelly. Oh goodness, I've got a. Good stuff. Okay, so next segment here.
All right, pedantry corner. So the chapter starts with, I mean, this is pedantic, and I'm almost willing to drop it, but. The chapter starts with Meera saying it's just another empty castle when she discovers the Nightfort. But my immediate reaction was, you've just reached the wall.
Right.
How are you like, it's just a castle?
Just a castle.
It's the bloody wall. But then it occurs to me they may have hit the wall sometime earlier and gone along the wall and found the castle, maybe multiple empty castles. So, yeah.
Yeah, or they could have seen, obviously they'd see the
wall for a few miles first.
Yes, before they're like, oh, just another
empty castle, yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Right. If that was the first thing she saw, she saw both at the same time, it would be a weird thing
if she was
do.
brought sort of like newborn
right.
and opened her eyes and said, that's an empty castle, that would be weird.
Well, speaking of Meera and the wall, so Meera climbs the 700-foot
I don't know
wall.
where he's going with this one.
700-foot wall on ice steps. That 700 feet is not exactly a few stories. The tallest building in our city is 538 feet, which is 32 stories.
That's pretty tall.
So she's climbing beyond that, another, 160 feet or so?
I would balk at climbing the stairs of that building.
Right. And
with a handrail.
And she's... well, that's...
and crampons.
That's part of the thing is like... Bran is describing it to us, and he's basically talking about the nubs that she is climbing on, and he says that the very top ones, the icy knobs, all that remained of the top steps, and I just being out in the elements with these. He also just, I think, as Benjen tells him that the steps have gotten rounded, and
melting and
and just any wind that high up when you're just standing on She's just not trained. She's not a trained ice wall climber.
But she's light on her feet.
She is, but there's no handrail. It just felt like, I'm not saying she couldn't do it,
I believe in Meera, but I do take your point. It's a heck of a thing she managed.
And I just
coming down might be even harder.
That's what Bran or Jojen thinks. But I just felt like one breeze, and Bran mentions the wind blowing in the trees and such. So it wasn't a perfectly calm day. It just felt like too much. It was too much. 700 feet up on those little nubs.
You said before that he didn't think about what 700 feet was when he first decided the height of the wall.
Right. It was too. Yeah,
it's too much.
I thought it was too high.
Yeah,
but I felt, and I was like, what is she going to climb up there and find? They've got Bran and Hodor. They're not going to.
Exactly.
So anyway,
what I found is a winch system. Throw down to you.
Anyway.
So my other one was, would there be rats? There's a lot of mentions of rats in this chapter, that the whole place is riddled with rats. But it seemed to me that rats would thrive in an environment where humans are there to scavenge from. And if this place has been deserted for 200 years, there wouldn't be human food to scavenge on. So this got me off on a significant tangent, I will say.
Yes.
Recent research has suggested that rats might be well positioned to supersede humans as the dominant race on Earth. Should we doom ourselves?
Oh.
Yeah? They are smart, resourceful, omnivorous, and adventurous with what they'll eat.
Okay.
They will try something and
find out
a little bite of something, see if it's okay. Their populations can swell and contract to match the available resources, whereas primates who have a longer life and gestational spans can't adapt as quickly.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
I could see.
They tolerate wide temperature ranges. They live in frozen places. They live in hot places.
Yes, yeah.
But all of that is at a macro scale. I think on the micro Nightfortian scale, they would need food to scavenge. They are scavengers, and without the people, it feels like they wouldn't do so well there. But just I'm not saying it's pedantry. I just thought it made me wonder.
It's the rat cook. That's what it is. The rat
cook is keeping them alive.
Having children.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I mean, obviously, they flee to stop being eaten.
Right.
Presumably.
Yeah.
More stuff was going on.
Okay, let's see. What's going on? That's enough of being pedantic.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes the pedantry is forced. She has a Sherpa.
The L is silent in bulk.
Is that me saying bulk? Bulk. Do I bulk at that?
Maybe in the UK English it is bulk.
I like this, the discussion about what a Sherpa is. That's funny. I don't have a beef with rats. I was just curious. Honestly, I was just curious about them. I have a Sherpa joke, actually. When I was on vacation last year, I met a couple from England, and I asked the guy what he did, and he told me. And I asked the lady, and she said, and she was from the north of England, so she said this in a very north of England way. She said, I'm just a shirker. And I said, oh, you help people get up the mountain.
What did she say?
That she was a shirker. She shirked work. She didn't do
anything. Oh, I see. I still didn't get it when you said a shirker. A Sherpa.
I was so pleased with that joke. There were two couples, and the guy from the other couple. Yeah.
English dad joke.
You're welcome. The guy from the other couple really laughed at that joke. You thought that was funny.
You help people up mountains. Oh, boy. Good stuff.
All right. Let's close that down. Yeah. Yes, there you go. All right. News and notes. We don't have much today, do we?
No, I mean, I feel like there's something newsworthy going on right about now.
Yeah,
but aside from that, I will mention that the 2024 A Song of Ice and Fire calendar goes on sale on July 25th.
We do not get any kickbacks.
Nope, do not at all. This year's artwork is done by the artist Justin Sweet. I've seen like 3 pictures. Paintings. Images. I don't know. I don't think pictures is the right word. They look very good. So, go get yourself a Song of Ice and Fire calendar.
+1 to Rob's comment there.
What did he say?
He said, finish the book, George.
Well, luckily he wasn't drawing the artwork, we'll say.
Well, yeah. So, while we've got you, we just want to take a moment to thank you all. When we started this, we just thought it wowould be fun to meet up and blather on. And it is.
It is.
It is.
It still is.
Yeah. But getting to know all y'all and share the ideas and thoughts with you has made it it's made it a rich part of our lives, and we love it, and we love you guys, and we're profoundly thankful for all you've done for us.
What he said, absolutely. Thank you all. It's been something we couldn't really have even imagined. I mean, no idea that we would end up where we are. So,
well, but you mean, come on, we hoped.
You always talked about the hockey stick.
We feel like we're lovable, right?
From the very beginning, you talked about the hockey stick.
A very curvy hockey stick.
Yeah, a little bit.
All right, let's conclude. Jojen's dreams. I mean, he's doing well with his dreams.
He and the ghost of Highheart are really...
They are vying for who's got the more accurate dreams. Right. I think they're probably ahead of Dany. Dany's are a bit vague and a bit loosey-goosey, and some of them are like probably happened in the past. So
right, yes, her visions. So, they seem to be pretty spot on.
Yeah. Even when it looks like he's gone... he's hit a dead end, a literal dead end.
Right.
Something comes along to open the gate for him.
Yeah, exactly. This one certainly looked like it wasn't going to work out when they were like, we have no way of getting across this wall. Yeah. But yet it did. And speaking of getting across the wall, Sam and Gilly went the other way across the wall. So, I mean, unless something befalls them before reaching Castle Black, we're going to end up with the situation that we had discussed in the Jon chapter with Ygritte dying. Is what would have happened if Ygritte hadn't died is there's no obvious future for the two of them.
Well, but is there a romantic connection? I mean, obviously there is from Sam's perspective.
Yes, and Gilly keeps saying she will marry Sam, but I think she doesn't. She's saying that because of the way she was raised, where you were forced into marrying someone. Yeah, so...
She's high on the postpartum drugs as well.
Well, maybe. But yeah, I mean, what's he going to do with Gilly when they get to Castle Black? I guess we'll.
Yeah, I mean, presumably there must be staff at Castle Black who are not Night's Watch brothers.
Mostly the stewards, right? The stewards do the laundry and all that kind of stuff, and the
doesn't seem that efficient though. I mean, those guys could be fighting. Well, get the ladies of Molestown to...
There are the Sams and Clytuses
Good point.
Of the world that are not going to help much. Although Sam did kill another.
He did.
Not sure I'd want him as my right-hand man in every battle, but he did well in that one.
And to be clear, that wasn't me being sort of like, that's the woman's place. I was imagining the Night's Watch using the women of Molestown in that way. Not saying that's what the women should be doing.
Yes, in Westeros, a different era, different place.
So Coldhands is waiting for Bran on the other side of the wall, or waiting for someone, and Jojen's decided it's Bran on the other side of the wall.
Right.
So is this his route to the Three-Eyed Crow? Yeah.
Seems
reasonable.
I guess that's what seems like what's supposed to happen here is this Coldhands is supposed to escort him. It certainly makes sense that's what's supposed to happen. I guess we'll find out. And I guess we'll find out. We had discussed at the end of the last Sam chapter we were discussing who the Coldhands might be, being that he's a brother of the Night's Watch. And one of the names I think you threw out as a possibility was Benjen Stark. And unless he's horribly disfigured, you'd imagine when Bran sees him, we will learn whether he's Benjen Stark or not.
Good point, yes.
So...
Yes, they know each other.
They have met a few times. Yeah. Right, yes.
No, it doesn't look anything like my uncle. Yeah, two warm hands.
Otherwise identical, but both his hands are warm, so it can't be him. And do we trust this guy with these kids? I'm not saying that he's definitely a bad guy, but he's not allowed through the wall, and bad things aren't allowed through the wall. So there's some correlation possibly there.
I'm terrified of the idea that's been floated here tonight of the others being so smart that they send a fake force forward to lose, then send a guy to rescue the Night's Watch brothers to lure Bran Stark through the wall to his doom. Come on, not even George Martin would do that.
We never know. You just never know.
But yes, the fact that he can't cross the wall, that's a demerit. That's a red flag in Bachelor Nation speak.
And like I was saying earlier, they're really in it now. When they cross that gate, first of all, I don't know if
you can get back.
Yeah, can Coldhands say the part of the vow he needs to say? He looks like he was once a Night's Watch brother, but I
shout
don't know.
It from a distance and then push them through.
Yeah. So, and it was all fun and games on the southern side, but the northern side, not so much.
That's a generous interpretation of what's been going on south of the wall. But yes, I take your point. It's worse north of the wall.
Right.
And can they survive? I mean, the thing is, that's the one thing about Coldhands. It feels like he gives them a chance of survival.
Right.
It feels like they freeze to death if they just wander north of the wall.
Yes. And there's whites out there and wildlings out there. And these kids in Hodor are just wandering aimlessly through the woods.
Yep.
So it's good that they will hopefully if he's on the up and up, we'll have a guide, it seems.
And then we'll be curious to see what Sam tells Jon when he sees him. Oh, I met nobody.
Nobody. I saw nothing. I saw absolutely nothing.
Who have we got next time?
Next week, we are off to Essos. Do you remember we had a character on Essos? We haven't heard much from her lately. But I'll say she and her growing group of followers, yes, they make it to the third slaver city, Meereen.
Right.
And 2 very big secrets are revealed. So you're definitely going to want to tune in next week to find out what those are.
There's 4 ways that you can help us. You could leave us a positive review. You could buy merchandise at ghostsofharrenhal.threadless.com. You could buy us a cup of Arbor Gold at buymeacoffee.com/ghostharrenhal. Become a sustainer at the Lord Paramount or Knight of the Realm level, as many of the people before me are, and you get lots of fun benefits therefrom. Or you could just donate directly to our cause through our website, ghostsofharrenhal.buzzsprout.com.
Yep, and if you're looking for more ways to interact with us and keep up on the latest Ghosts of Harrenhal news and developments, check us out on our social medias. You can follow us on Twitter at Ghosts Harrenhal. We are also on Facebook, Instagram, Discord, and YouTube.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.